Good morning. It's great to be back with you.
Absolutely. We enjoy and we like every single time you take out of your busy schedule to come into our studios and say hello and be here with us.
Hey, I enjoy being here with you. I'm still trying to get you to come to see me, but I'm always happy to come see you here in the
Absolutely.
Lehigh Valley.
So, one of the things that I wanted to first talk to you about is what just happened a few days ago in York.
Yeah.
I know that was something that is taking us all by surprise. For those who don't know, a few days ago there was an incident in York where five officers were shot at. Three died. Two, as far as I know, are still in the hospital. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah. Just a tragic incident where a number of law enforcement officials responded to a scene in York County. The individual, the suspect, shot at the police officers, killing three of them and seriously wounding two others. Those two others who were seriously wounded, they'll recover. They're in what doctors describe as critical but stable condition. I had the chance to visit with their families at the hospital, and I just ask everyone listening here to pray for them and to treat our law enforcement officials with respect and to understand that they've got an important job to do to keep us safe. And these were some of the finest people out in York County doing their jobs to keep us safe. And three of them didn't come home to families that loved them. For those three families, there's now an empty seat at the dinner table. And I just ask you all to join me and my wife Lori in prayer for that entire community and those families affected.
From a personal level, as a governor, you have to deal with a lot of situations like this. How do you, on a personal level, prepare for, unfortunately, this type of incidents that happen way too many times, if you will? On a personal level, how do you deal with this type of things?
Look, I feel blessed to be able to see goodness in our society every day. But I'm also keenly aware that I deal with some of the worst of humanity every day, some tragedies like what we just experienced in York. Honestly, the way I try and deal with it personally is to never make it personal, to always focus on the community that's impacted, the family that's impacted, the person that's impacted, in this case, the police department that's impacted, and just be there for them and pour everything I have emotionally into being there for them, being present for them, letting them tell me about their loved one, letting them tell me about their colleague, their fellow brother in blue, letting them share with me what is important for me to know that I can then share with the rest of the good people of Pennsylvania, and that's what I try and do. Just be there. I will tell you, Victor, just on a really personal level, you internalize a lot of trauma that you see in our communities, and I try and just take that and turn it into purposeful action. So to make sure that these three officers' lives were not taken in vain, that we channel that energy into doing something positive for the rest of the community.
Absolutely, and our prayers are with those officers' family and the ones who are in the hospital right now, and we wish them nothing but the best, and make sure that they are able to recuperate and get back to their normal lives. So our prayers are with them. Moving into, and I want to make sure we cover what's happening here in Pennsylvania.
Sure.
But there's a lot of the things going on nationally
Yeah.
that impacts every single one of us.
Yeah, without question.
The state of affairs in our country right now, and what's happening in our country right now, where some of us, I will include myself in it, feel like something different is on the air.
Yeah.
Our again, some of us, I'll speak for myself, feel that it's not the same, that we are going down a path where our freedoms, our constitutional rights are being tested, if you will. How do you're a governor, so you have to deal in a state level with this. How do you feel about what's happening right now in our country?
Look, I'm a governor. I'm a former attorney general. I'm someone who reveres the Constitution and believes in the foundational principles of this country. And I'm worried. I'm worried every day that people's constitutional rights are being violated. I'm worried every day that There are threats to our fundamental freedoms. And I'm trying to do everything in my power to push back on that. You know, I serve as governor of Pennsylvania. The first guy to hold this job was William Penn.
Yeah.
Now, Victor, William Penn founded Pennsylvania as a place that would be welcoming to all people, where your fundamental right of freedom of religion and freedom of expression would be why this place would be founded. Now, I'm not sure William Penn ever imagined a guy like me talking to a guy like you, but
Absolutely.
he'd probably be pretty proud of that.
Yes.
Probably be pretty proud of what we're seeing here.
And how far we have come.
How far we've come. And now we've got an administration in Washington that is rolling back your freedom of speech. I mean, they're quite literally policing what people like you say on the radio, say on TV. A guy just got fired for telling jokes on national TV. I'm not saying you got to think the joke is funny. I'm not saying you got to think the joke is appropriate, but think about that. He got fired for that. And we've got a president of the United States who's focused on getting someone fired on late night television as opposed to trying to make your prices at the grocery store go down. So I think not only should we all be concerned about our freedoms being limited by this administration, we also have to question what are their priorities? If they're focused every day on taking away your freedom, making it harder for you than actually trying to reduce your costs or make sure you get something that helps you. Last thing I'll say is this. I feel privileged to represent a very fast-growing Latino population, Latino community all across Pennsylvania, but especially here in the Lehigh Valley. When I go and I talk to the community, they tell me about how they fled dictatorship. They tell me about how they fled lawlessness. They tell me about how they fled leadership that tried to take away their fundamental freedoms. Now, I'm not suggesting America is like what they fled.
Absolutely not.
But we are seeing things that are dangerous
Concerning.
and worrisome and concerning. And I hear that especially in the Latino community. And so it's something that I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure I do my part, like William Penn started, to make this a place that's welcoming for all, where we protect your freedoms and we stand up against federal overreach.
You know, from a personal point of view, because I do this for a living, you know, what happened to Stephen Colbert, where he was the first one to be fired because the president didn't seem to like him too much because he made fun of him. And now seeing what's happening to Jimmy Kimmel, like you said, I don't want people to think that I agree with what Jimmy Kimmel said.
Right.
I don't share what he said. But the fact that he's being silenced for expressing his belief, his opinion, whether right or wrong.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for 32 years. I've never waken up in the morning worried about what I'm going to say costing my livelihood.
Yeah. That's really worrisome to me.
And for the last 3 days,
You've been
I
thinking
wake
about
up
that.
at 3:45 in the morning, and the first thing that I'm thinking for the last 3 days is, should I say this or not?
Yeah.
Should I criticize the president or not? Should I make fun of the president or not? Because this is on the hands of the FCC. This is regulated by the FCC, which means that they can just literally walk in here right now and say, nope, thank you, your license is off, and now you're out of a job. So after 32 years, for me to now wake up in the morning and worry that I'm going to say something that in the most important state, right, Pennsylvania, and the elections is very important.
No question.
In a market like the Lehigh Valley and then Warren Reading and other cities where the vote is so important that this audio is going to get to someone, and then they're going to shut us down. And I'll say even more. I've been thinking that I'm going to interview you. I've never had to worry about what am I going to ask you. But for the first time, I'm concerned because I'm afraid of touching this topic, talk about this, and all of a sudden, you and I are going to say something, it's going to go viral, and now the spotlight is going to be on me, and I'm going to get the knock on the door from the FCC. I mean, again, 32 years, and I now have to, should I ask the governor? Should I, even go into this topic? Because if he says something and he goes viral, then the attention is on me. That's what's scaring me right now.
And that is chilling for me to hear. Because, Victor, what you're describing is censorship.
Yes.
The long arm of the federal government is now causing you to stop saying certain things,
Yes.
to worry about saying other things, to curtail your own speech on a platform like this where you should be free to speak your mind. The long arm of the federal government is now reaching into places like La Mega and other places and causing you to question what you're speaking about. What does that ultimately accomplish? It creates more division in our society. It doesn't make us safer, and it makes us less free. You have a First Amendment right to say what you want here, to ask me the questions you
To
want.
criticize the president, to
Absolutely.
criticize his policies and yours. You're a government, you're like a
Absolutely.
governor, elected official. I should be able to have an honest discussion and criticize you when I don't believe you're doing the right thing because you're my governor.
Right. And by the way, part of my job is showing up here and taking that. Hopefully taking positive things you'll say, but absolutely
Yes.
subjecting myself to you being critical of something. I think what the president is doing, both getting people fired for speech and chilling other speech, undermines our constitutional rights, our fundamental freedoms, and is really, really dangerous for this country. And I'll say another thing. It's hypocritical as well. Remember, he represents a party that for decades has cloaked itself in the blanket of freedom and claimed they were for free speech, said that they were going to stand up
And they were
for
being
First Amendment
silenced.
rights.
They were being
That
silenced.
They were being silenced.
Yeah.
And now look at what they're doing. They're trying to silence others. They're trying to make it more difficult for people to speak if that speech that they're engaged in is critical of this administration. There's a lot to be critical of this administration for. Stuff costs a whole lot more after they said it would cost less. We're engaged militarily overseas in questionable areas that I think are making the American people less safe. We've got a healthcare system that's being disrupted by an absolute quack who leads the Department of Health and Human Services, making it so me, as a parent, can't give my kid the vaccines or the medications that I want. We got small business owners here in the Lehigh Valley who are worse off because of this administration. We should be able to talk freely about that.
Yes.
That shouldn't be censored. Censorship leads to more division. Censorship is a danger in our society, and censorship erodes our fundamental freedoms.
It's worrying, and like I said, we just take it day by day. But it's something that we were talking about just yesterday here on the show because I do a 1 hour every day segment talking about the state of politics and criticizing the president's policy. And like I said, for me to now be worried that my livelihood, that my family and the people that I employ are or may be on the balance because I may say something on the radio that the administration or any government may not like, it's concerning. So my ex-wife, which I have a great relationship with, her family's from Cuba.
Yeah.
My ex-father-in-law fled Cuba
Yeah.
because his freedoms were taken away. So
They signed up for more freedom, not
yes.
less.
And so I have a unique understanding from my family of what freedom means to them, why they left, why they haven't been able to go back in 60 years
Right.
to their country to see their families, and to see that we're going down a path that may even get anywhere near to that. It's concerning. It really is. It's worrisome. So, but I appreciate your comments. And again, I just wanted to touch that.
It is. Can I just
Yeah.
add one thing? Because I've heard stories like that from so many people, particularly here in the Valley, particularly from the Latino community, about fleeing somewhere, in your ex-wife's case, Cuba. The thing that keeps me hopeful in all this is I do still think this is the greatest country on the face of the earth. And while our institutions are fraying,
Absolutely.
I do believe our institutions are stronger here than in those places. But we've got a president of the United States who is hell-bent on pushing those institutions to the brink, whether it's the institution of media, whether it's the institution of the Congress of the United States. And I think it's on people like me and you to continue to speak our mind, to not be censored, to not wake up, as you said, at 3:45 in the morning worried. I'm not suggesting you shouldn't be worried, but I don't want you to have to feel that way. And we each got to keep doing our part.
So now coming back to here, to Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier prices are going up, grocery stores are being affected. What can you tell us? What is the state of Pennsylvania right now under the tariffs? The other day we were talking about farmers now being
Yeah.
affected. A higher rate of farmers are
Yep.
declaring bankruptcy because they are now being impacted. How is Pennsylvania being impacted by everything that is going on?
Well, look, I can tell you as governor, I've worked hard with Democrats and Republicans to cut taxes 6 times. For small businesses, we've cut their taxes. For families who are trying to afford childcare, we cut their taxes. For seniors who are trying to stay in their homes, we gave them the largest targeted tax cut in 20 years. So we've cut taxes. We've put money back into people's pockets. So we were bringing down the cost of things till Donald Trump showed up. And then what did he do? He's actually ushered in an era of higher costs. He pushed a button to create these tariffs, which make all of our goods cost more, whether you're buying something on Amazon or you're buying something at the small business down the street.
Yep.
And so the president is to blame for these rising costs. We've got to do everything we can to try and push back on him. We got to put our voices up there so he eliminates some of these tariffs that are hurting us. But make no mistake, the things, cost is rising because of his policies. So I'm going to keep doing everything I can to make the critical investments, cut taxes here in our Commonwealth to help, but he's making matters worse.
So we've been hearing about the difficulties of getting our budget done and through, and what you have to deal with a Republican Senate who doesn't seem to want to meet you in the middle, doesn't seem to want to negotiate in good faith to get a budget done. Where are we with that?
Yeah. The other thing they don't want to do is show up for work. I mean, Victor, I introduced my budget nearly 230 days ago.
Wow.
They've come to work less than 30 days. Think about that for a minute. They've only shown up for work less than 30 days. I don't know a lot of people listening to your show right now that if they showed up for work less than 30 days out of the last 230, that they'd still have jobs. These folks have to come to Harrisburg and they've got to pass a budget and put it on my desk. I can't write the budget and vote on the budget and sign it. I can write it, I can sign it, but at some point they got to vote.
I want to make sure we emphasize that point. You submitted a budget 200 days ago.
230 days ago.
And it still hasn't been approved. Now, mind you, I want people to understand.
Yeah.
It has been approved by the House.
Mm-hmm.
We're just waiting for the Republicans in the Senate. Over 200 days ago.
Yeah.
And we still don't have a budget.
Yeah. And listen, the things I'm fighting for, common sense. I'm trying to hire more police in our communities to keep our streets safe. I'm trying to put more money into small businesses to help them grow. And I'm trying to fund our schools. I mean, these are basic things that in the past had bipartisan support. Look, I think they're playing some politics. I think another part of it is they just don't want to show up for work. But I think what they're doing is disrespectful to the people of Pennsylvania. They deserve a budget. They deserve to have it done soon.
Don't we have a law here that requires that a budget is approved within a certain amount of days?
I mean, the rules require them to send a budget to my desk by June 30th every year.
And we
what did
are
they do?
in September.
Yeah.
Wow.
And what they do on June 30th? They went home for their summer recess. So while everybody here in the Lehigh Valley was going to work, these guys went home for a summer recess. Now, I have worked hard all summer to try and bring the Republican leader in the Senate, the Democratic leader in the House closer together to find this common ground. But at some point, they've got to show up and do their jobs, and we're long past that time.
So I want you to tell people how this is impacting their lives.
Yeah.
The fact that a budget has not been approved, that we are running a government without a budget, how is that impacting us?
So let's just talk about Allentown, for example, the city of Allentown and the school district of Allentown. The school district of Allentown has not gotten the funding that they require from the state government. So if you send your kid to the Allentown School District, the money for the Allentown School District comes from your local taxes, local property taxes, and from the state.
And by the way, they're listening to us in Reading. They're listening to us in Philadelphia.
It's the same,
none of the school districts.
None of those, right, and it's all the same there. I'm just picked Allentown as an example. But let's stick with Reading, Allentown, and Philadelphia. Second, I fought hard last year successfully to make sure those districts that were chronically underfunded got more funding. So we have a new formula in place. So not only are they not getting their funding, they're not getting the funding for the new formula to help them. And so they're forced to now go out and borrow money while they wait on these Republicans in the state Senate to come and do their jobs.
And by the way, by borrowing money, they are now going into more debt because that borrowing comes with interest.
Right. Now let's take another example. The Allentown Police Department. Just use that as one example. We have funded at the state level, I worked hard on this, the hiring of 800 new state troopers, that's Pennsylvania State Police, and 700 municipal police officers, including here in the Lehigh Valley. So without more funding for that, it makes it harder for these local, communities to hire more police. Let's take the small businesses, for example. We have funding for main streets, right? In Bethlehem and Allentown and Philly and Reading and elsewhere. We're not able to drive those dollars out to the main street businesses that need that help. So there's an impact to them not showing up for work in Harrisburg. There's an impact for them not doing their job and putting a budget on my desk.
And I want to make sure I bring this up. It has nothing to do with politics. It has to do with them doing their job.
Just do your job.
Just do your job.
Listen, I don't expect that we're going to agree on everything. I'm prepared to compromise. We got to compromise.
But if you don't show up, that's why I said they haven't been. Okay, so let me ask you, what's the sticking point? I mean, they have to be giving some sort of an excuse or reason for them to hold back. What is their excuse? What is their reason? What is their negotiation tactic? What is it that they want that you're not giving them?
Yeah, I mean, look, without telling tales out of school about our internal conversations, I think what they need to understand is when you've got Republicans leading the Senate and you've got Democrats leading the House, you got to compromise, which means the Republicans are going to probably have to spend more than they would like on the budget. Democrats are probably going to be able to invest less, but you got to meet in the middle and you got to find common ground. I have shown incredible flexibility in terms of meeting in the middle. We need the House and the Senate to do the same.
What can we do? What can the people of Pennsylvania do to put pressure to make sure that our government pass a budget and get the things that need to be done?
Call your state senator, call your state representative, tell them to come back to Harrisburg and do their jobs and complete their business. I would note that, the Democrats in the Senate, Democrats in the House, either have passed a budget in the House or are prepared to vote to support a common sense budget in the Senate. We need the Republican leaders to reconvene the Senate and pass a common sense budget, and they should call their elected leaders.
It may sound funny or maybe naive, but can we dock their pay if they're not showing up to work? Isn't there a tool or something? Okay,
Yeah.
So you're not showing up, you're not getting paid, you're not going to get your salary, you're not going to get your. Can we do something like that? I'm asking. Can
Look,
you, as a governor, do
been-
something like that? I don't know.
There have been some lawmakers who have proposed a bill that says you don't get paid while there's a budget impasse. Pass that, put that on my desk, I'll sign it.
But right now, there's nothing like that.
Right now, there's nothing.
So they can just not show up to work and still get paid.
Right.
All right, Governor. We don't have much time, but I know you're visiting the Lehigh Valley. Can you tell us why are you here? What's latest thing that you are now championing and doing here in the Lehigh Valley?
I've been to the Lehigh Valley, as you know, a whole lot. Today, I was back announcing a really huge economic development deal at B. Braun. They're expanding their operations there. They're going to hire at least 200 more people from the Lehigh Valley. They got more apprentices than ever before because I think skilled labor, skilled trades is so important. So I was here this morning to announce that big, that big deal at B. Braun. And we got other big economic development announcements coming here to Lehigh Valley. It's going to create jobs and really continue the explosive growth we've seen.
Real quick, the federal government is taking funding away as well.
Yeah.
How is Pennsylvania been affected, or what's the projection that the state will be affected by some of these funds going away, funds that were approved by the previous administration? Where are we at on that?
So let me give you 3 examples. One, they budgeted money for the state for clean air and clean water work that needed to be done. They took that money away illegally. I sued them and got the money back.
Good.
They took billions of dollars away from our schools. I sued them. I won and got the money back.
Good.
So we've had examples like that. The other thing that we saw was they canceled a whole bunch of clean energy projects that's going to cost 26,000 jobs here in Pennsylvania.
Wow.
That's going to be really, really devastating. And then third, what they did, and everybody listening needs to pay attention because this is going to begin to hurt folks really this month and into the future, they slashed benefits for SNAP, that's food assistance, and Medicaid. And so, we estimate that we're going to have about 550,000 Pennsylvanians either lose SNAP food assistance or Medicaid. That is incredibly dangerous. So people are not going to lose health care and they're going to lose food assistance, all because of what the federal government has done.
And I'm only assuming that's going to put even more pressure on our state government
Exactly.
to look for ways to provide for those people.
Exactly. And by the way, those numbers I just shared with you, that's not nationally. That's just what's going to happen here in Pennsylvania.
Wow. Bueno, we're running out of time. I got a little gossip that I want to share with you.
You got the goss?
Listen, I'm going to
All
put
right.
you on the spot.
Spill
but
the tea here. Let's see.
And I'm only bringing this up because you were in the running for the whole VP thing. Kamala
boy.
Harris put out a book
Okay.
where she said that the governor of Minnesota wasn't her first choice for VP. That her first choice was Pete Buttigieg. But that she was concerned, or her team was concerned, or how controversial could that be, because Pete Buttigieg is an open gay man. So you were in the middle of that mix. What do you think about the fact that she say now that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz wasn't her first choice?
look.
That she rather would have had Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah. Well, first off, I haven't read her book, so I'll take you your word or whatever you're reading off of. I mean, I think she's got some answering to do to Tim Walz. And look, if she wanted to pick Pete Buttigieg, she should have picked Pete Buttigieg. And I think if you're afraid because, Pete's a gay man, I think, that suggests you're not really betting on the goodness of the American people. And that's disappointing for me to hear. But, I don't know. She's going to have to go out and answer for what she wrote in that book. And maybe she'll answer that question for you.
Hey, again, I'm only asking because
Yeah.
you were in the middle of that
Yeah.
thing. But again, I want to thank you. You always take out of your busy schedule to come here into our studio, say hello. This is like the 5th time that you come in. So the doors are
Studio
always
looks
open.
great, by the way.
Thank you. So the doors are always open. And once again, Governor Shapiro, thank you for coming.
Great to be with you. Thank you.
Bueno,
Gracias.
ahí está, señores, con nosotros el gobernador Shapiro en nuestros estudios. Gracias por escucharnos. Continuamos.